What's up, Wisconsin? Happy New Year, 2023. Let's go. From the Inside Wisconsin studios, Trevor, J.A., Happy New Year, brother.
Was there a ball drop? Did I miss the Inside Wisconsin ball drop at your house with the confetti and the marching bands and Dick Clark Entertainment or not?
I thought you said ball drop, and I'm like, really? We're starting the new year with a ball joke? Is that what we're doing?
Oh, a ball drop. Come on.
I heard you now. I got you.
You gotta be, oh, yeah. So I will, maybe that's where we'll go with John, Wisconsin, is my New Year's Eve story.
Is that the night you spent in jail? Because I demand that is for...
No, that is not. Anyway, by the way, so it's 2023. This is technically the third year that we've had this program, right?
Another year. It is another year of the people.
Started 21, and
we started 21.
So we're like in 3 years. I love it.
We're the beginning stages of year 3, indeed. The people, the stories, and the patriotism of Inside Wisconsin. That's what we're dedicated to. J.A., I told you that sometimes people don't always understand when we talk to people that maybe aren't from Wisconsin or they didn't play here.
Right.
Today is that case, but your buddy Kenny Mayne has got a story or two about Wisconsin.
He is attached to the state, right? He is a fan. You don't have to act, because if that case, right, I was born in Iowa and I lived there for like 18 months or whatever. So technically, I don't know, do I fit the bill? These are people that still have an intense a connection to the state, that are fans, that are worthy of hearing from and about their Wisconsin experience. And Kenny is very much in that vein, although he is unlike anybody else we've had on this show or will have on this show. He is a completely unique character.
Do not drink when you're listening or watching this episode. It will come out of your nose. Here we go. Kenny Mayne on Inside Wisconsin.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Prevea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review. Smash the like button. Just get with us. I feel like J.A. and Kenny go way back, so this is really going to be the J.A. and Kenny show. I sometimes just sit here and kind of take it all in, but that is former ESPN employee now. Well, we're going to learn about what's all going on now. Kenny Mayne. Kenny, thanks for being on Inside Wisconsin, man.
Thanks for having me. It was a miracle that I was able to get to this platform because you guys are using something called StreamYard. I was told we were using Zoom, but Zoom is almost now just like when you say, I want a Coke in the South. And then what kind of Coke?
Yeah.
I'd like a Dr. Pepper, So it's become, Zoom means that thing that lets people communicate from long distances. Yeah. So this is StreamYard, where you have to do it through, what's the other one? Not Safari, the Chrome. You have to go over to Chrome.
Okay.
So now, do I hit Control or Command C and then the V? And it worked. Somehow it worked. I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
But you're right. It is the Jell-O. It is the Kleenex, generic catch-all term for how we discuss to people with me in Connecticut and Trevor in Green Bay. Where are you, by the way?
I'm in West Hartford, Connecticut. Mostly,
so we're basically 12 minutes away.
Yes, I could have done it in person
at the Starbucks.
Exactly. I can't go to Starbucks because the guy who ran Starbucks sold the Seattle Sonics to people who don't live in Seattle. I have not been back to Starbucks since 2008. I started a boycott. We're talking about the old Howard Schultz, the guy who runs Starbucks, and he was the number one percentage holder of a large group of people who ran the Sonics, and they sold the Sonics. So we blame him mostly. It's probably unfair, but you got to do something to get at your anger. So I would go to Starbucks and say, "Give me 2 shots of espresso with the tears of Gus Williams," and I got something out of it. The customers in line thought I was weird. The baristas like, just move, old guy, keep moving. Finally, my daughter, Annie, who was only about 8 or 9 at the time, said, "Dad, this is the dumbest boycott. Either you go or you don't go. If you go and you purchase their stuff, you're not really doing much, Yeah, you get off your great Gus Williams joke." By the way, I hope Gus Williams is doing better. He had a little health issues out, recovering. We had an event for Slick Watts and Gus Williams in Seattle not too long ago. So wishing him the best. Anyway, so I have not gone back. But yeah, after I left ESPN, I have a place in Seattle. I have this place in Connecticut. I got remarried. I used to travel back and forth. And then now everybody got old. Riley graduated Boulder. That's my oldest daughter. Annie's a senior at Boston U. Next one's Elena. She's at USC. And the last one's still in high school, which has us still here in Connecticut.
There we go. There's the full
Right
gamut
there.
of.
By the way, this has nothing to do with Wisconsin, but if you get people from ESPN to hold a grudge, it's terrible. Neil Everett, remember when they raised the price of a schmear of cream cheese and peanut butter from like 25 cents to 50 cents, and Neil didn't go to the calf for 6 years because he was so incensed.
I stopped going to the cafe at ESPN once you had to have another damn app to get in the door.
Yeah.
Like you have to have an app for everything. When I was out in Seattle, I went to a Kraken game and Storm game, and I kept arguing, like, why do I have to join another club to go to your game? Can't you just give me physical? And they're like, it just doesn't work. I said, what about somebody in the middle of the state of Washington? They live in a cabin. They don't even have a television. They don't have a phone. They don't get to go to your game because they don't have a smartphone. That's just unfair. It's discriminatory, and I'm here to take a stand against it. Also, why do these? Are you guys seeing this? Is this?
Are you guys are you boycotting them too now?
Maybe. No. I'm a huge Storm and Kraken fan, but the lids to coffee cups don't work. They do not work. It's going to drip down here. If I have a white shirt, it's all over our counter. Gretchen's going to yell like it's on my computer cable. Somebody do something about the lids. Maybe a Wisconsin firm can start up a big company of manufacturing a new growth industry.
Surely Uline has to have that in their catalog, right? The things the size, the Uline catalog's like this.
Yeah.
It's got to be in there somewhere.
It's just disappointing every time, but I'm over it.
When was the last time you were at the Oneida Casino across from Austin Straubel Airport? Because I know that's, at least to me, is what I understand, that's your favorite place in Wisconsin.
It's one of. I've always been a fan of Wisconsin. As you know, you and I think, bonded partly because you grew up there right down on Vince Lombardi Avenue, and I was a Packers fan because Seattle didn't have a football team when I was a little kid. I'm a little older than you, but we're in the same, classification generally. And the Green Bay Packers were the hot NFL team. I was 7, 8 years old. That was my team. We didn't have a team. We didn't get a team for another 10 years from, the Seattle area. So I was a diehard Travis Williams, the Roadrunner, number 23, John Brockington, obviously Bart Starr, Carol Dell, Ray Nitschke, of course, Lombardi running the show. And the Packers, obviously, it's just like any little kid picks, oh, I like this team because they're good. I like the Warriors. They won the title, But I fell in love with football principally because of the play of the Green Bay Packers. I swear the first game I ever saw was the Ice Bowl. And I think I cried. I was 7. I think I wept.
Wow. And you weren't here? You weren't one of the 1.3 million people that say they've been at the Ice Bowl? No.
Oh, no. I was not there, but I know I watched it. I 100% know I watched it. It was 1967, right? I mean, I was old enough. Yeah. I had the right to turn our television on at that point. But
Let it warm up.
And then they play the national anthem and close down for another day. Yes, the Oneida Casino. I have many great Oneida Casino stories because it was a value. Their highest room was like, $180. That was the Favre suite with the fireplace and the hot tub. And me and Matt Doyle, my producer, would argue about who was getting the Favre suite. I think they only had 1 or 2. And whatever the price ESPN negotiated, $89, you're at the hotel. It's like, give me make it higher. What do you got for $150? So, but they had the casino right down the hall. They always had a convention going, friendly people. We enjoyed it there. And there was one night we'd shot our story. Matt Doyle and I were leaving. We had to go back to Connecticut. I think we were catching like a 7, changing planes in Chicago, getting back real late. And we're like, dang it. I wish it was just like the biggest snowstorm ever. And we could just go back and gamble more at the Oneida. Sure enough, like our prayer was heard. Biggest snowstorm ever, just comes out of nowhere. We're laughing at the airport as you see flights are canceling and delayed. And the flight 783 to yes, and we go running across the road. We were back to the Oneida. So always enjoyed the people. Good Asian bistro also at the bar area at the Oneida Casino. So I could be doing commercials for them. That could be the next thing I do.
That wouldn't conflict with Caesars, you don't think?
Caesars would have to purchase the Oneida Casino before I could do it. Maybe I could do it just as friend of the industry. But yes, I'm doing work with Caesars. Thank you for mentioning that. I just put out a little video yesterday. I did a thing with the Manning family. And I've done stuff with JB. Halle Berry, I say I've worked with just because we're literally in the same area. And I had a line that wasn't directed to her. It was supposed to be for Archie. But when it came time for me to say my line, I started with JB. Then I looked at Halle, give her a line. Then I went to my line that was in the script. Of course, as you know, what they're going to do, they cut out my good stuff and picked it up where I was supposed to do my job. Just please, as the script says, I think is what they told me. But it's been fun. They send me to fun events. I make my little, basically the same kind of little comedy stories I used to do for ESPN. Fewer facts even than back then, and they stick them out there, and hopefully it helps serve the company well. We get to go out to Vegas now and then. What's the next thing I'm doing? I don't even know what I'm doing next. I had a bunch of stuff I did in a row that every week it seemed I was somewhere. We've sort of laid off here as the holidays approach. So I think right after the first year, we'll get back at it.
You talk about working here in Wisconsin and doing the shoots with the Packers. We'll talk about some of those stories and TJ Lane taking a head of lettuce square off the face. But I'm curious, as you're a Packers fan, Kenny, have you been here to a game just as a fan?
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah. I went and saw a couple Seahawks games as quote unquote just a fan, because I'm truly more a Seahawks fan. Packers were always kind of like my backup team. If Seahawks don't do well, I hope the Packers do well. I'm kind of the same way with college football. UNLV is where I played and who I root for first, but then I like the University of Washington because I'm from the Seattle area, and if they don't do well, I'll root for the next best Pac-10, 12, 8, whatever the hell they're calling that conference now. I don't have that thing where I know it's a lot. People from Michigan can never root for Ohio State and vice versa. I don't feel that way. If Washington having a good year, great. If it's Washington State, I'll root for the conference. So I don't think I look at it in quite the same way as some others. But yes, I have been to several games. I was also for work there, the game when Matt Hasselbeck said, we want the ball and we're going to score. And then I believe was that Al Harris.
Yeah.
With the interception. I don't blame Hasselbeck entirely on that. I don't think this guy gave him a great route. I think he put the ball okay, and man wasn't looking. We've had some trouble with certain interceptions in big games, which might be my story for this year's Super Bowl, because the game is back at Phoenix, where Gretchen and I watched the Seahawks not win from the 1 yard line.
Listen, I don't want to hear too whiny of a story, because I remember an onside kick by the Packers in an NFC Championship game in Seattle that was equally painful on the other side.
Oh, Gretchen and I were already like, all right, Green Bay's winning. We like those guys. We'll still go. We're going to go to the Super Bowl no matter. We can go root for Green Bay. I hope, good luck to them. And then all of a sudden it starts getting closer. My daughter was sitting with a friend on the other side of the stadium. Dad, can we leave? And I was ready to leave too. Beat the crowd. We're about to lose. And I said, how about just give it like 5 more minutes, one more drive, see what happens. Next thing you know, it's a tight game. Somehow Seattle pulled that out with a lot of silly plays. So, yeah, I know Green Bay fans suffered greatly in that one.
We have our pain. So what's that like? Because Green Bay, we get to pride say, listen, our team's been here since 1919 and blah, 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 which is great, but we grow up with it. Like, how exciting was it? Here's you're this football fan, this football kid, and you're like, holy crap, we're going to get a football team. We're going to get an NFL team. What was that like when that happened?
It was thrilling. It was also a little mysterious, right? When it's an expansion team, you're kind of like, how does this work? And you were mentioning off air the draft. We took a guy from Green Bay in the expansion. It was just fun. I was in high school football at the time, so I was already very wrapped up and getting ready for what was right in front of me. But to know we had this cool stadium, which we thought was cool, it wasn't really even that cool. The Kingdom. But it was pretty good for football. When things were going well, that was a loud place. I like the new place far better, but the Kingdom, as kind of weird, there was the eccentricities of the Kingdom were something, but there was something kind of cool about that place at the same time. And it's had a lot of historic things. Bo Jackson, I think, owns most of the historic things that happened in that building. But the Sonics played there. Like there were some cool things that happened. I'm glad we ended up getting the places. Now we have 3 state-of-the-art buildings. We got the baseball field, the football, soccer field, and this new Climate Pledge arena for hockey and basketball. So hopefully we add an NBA team one day soon too.
But when you get that team, all of a sudden, like, are Zorn and Large, are these guys just instant heroes?
Bang. Oh yeah. They were. Yeah. I mean, and by the way, they were pretty damn good. Steve Largent, Hall of Fame. Zorn was a very capable, very good quarterback. They ran kind of a wild offense. I remember so many times he would roll out one way, turn and roll back the other way. And he was literally like 25 yards behind the line of scrimmage, reversing field. Largent was running some wild post cornered out at about 30 yards. I mean, they ran all those trick plays. Remember, Efren Herrera was our kicker.
Yeah.
And we had all sorts of gadget plays. Jack Patera was the coach, but they had some solid players. And then, like all expansion teams, you're not filled out and you don't have the experience together. They struggled in the first few years, but wasn't too long before they were a pretty serious team. Chuck Knox taking over and a lot of playoff teams. They were right knocking on the door for several different seasons, and then it got even better when Holmgren came in, and obviously with Pete Carroll finally winning one.
Yeah, there was a Wisconsinization of the Seahawks there for a bit. Holmgren came in, and obviously now John Schneider and Dave Craig, of course, and we call Russell Wilson a Wisconsinite because he played here for a year, but
yes,
there was a lot of Wisconsin. What was that?
Yeah, played here he was here almost 6 months.
We'll take credit for that, can't we? So as you're a Seattle fan and a Packer fan, now there's this weird meshing of organizations and states. How close did you get with some of those guys from Wisconsin here, Schneider and Holmgren and so on?
Yeah, well, Dave Craig for sure. He was there. I was with the Seahawks for all of 24 hours back in 1982. The kid who played ahead of me, Sam King, who led the nation in passing yards, turned down an offer to go. My coach was like, "Hey, you should look at the backup." That's me. And I went up and threw in Kirkland, their old headquarters, and who was in the facility but Steve Largent. People don't know how those work. It's not like it's some formal thing that's been planned. It's more like so-and-so's coming in on a Tuesday at noon. Who's around? Hey, get out here, run some routes for this guy. And it's Largent. So I benefited greatly, for having a Hall of Fame player to throw to. But I ended up failing the physical on day one. Literally never got to do an official practice, just did like the preseason workouts in Kirkland. But we went to the training camp in Cheney. I failed the physical. I'm out. I'm in tears. Dave Craig and Jim Zorn are talking, and I'm walking by them like to go to the bus to get taken to the airport. And I mean, we hadn't like bonded yet. They knew who I was, but I was just some marginal rookie guy that was probably there to fill out the lines. And Dave loves to tell the story now that he says, "Hey, since you're leaving, can you go get a 12-pack and bring it back before you hit the airport?" But he didn't really say that. He wasn't that mean. But we've become great friends since then. If you look up main event Super Bowl, it was one of my favorite ones we ever did. It was in Arizona. Ends up with Dave Craig on horseback, blowing up a car in the desert. There's a lot of elements. The gentleman from Green Mile who passed away, whose name is on the tip of my tongue, Michael Clark Duncan. What a sweet man. He did the voiceover for us. We ran into him at some charity event, and I had the script in my back pocket. And I'm going to ask. All he can do is say no, right? He's like, "I'll do that." He has this beautiful voice. And he says, "Follow me." And we jump in a limousine, his limo driver, and there's like 4 other people, random people. And he's reading a script in the back of his limo with my cameraman and Matt. And it was amazing for him to do the voiceover for this dumb story that we had created about the necessity of me finding 4 Super Bowl tickets because Paulie Walnuts, God rest, Tony Sirico, had asked me for tickets in real life. So he had done some work for me for free. And he's like, "Kid, I need 4 tickets. I know you can do it." And he just hangs up. I'm like, did I just get threatened? Like, what just happened? So we ended up, let's just make that our story this week. Let's make the reality of a Sopranos guy is telling me I have to get him 4 tickets, and it ends up with Dave Craig on a horse. So that was a long way of answering your question. Yes. And Mike Holmgren, love Mike Holmgren. I appreciate what he did in Wisconsin. I was on the Mandela Barnes side. So I loved how he spoke up, and we run into each other now and then at a grocery store or an airport. He was always good to me. Mike Holmgren's the one who championed one of my favorite bits we ever did, where we took a guy from ESPN named Max Kim, and we called him Kim Il-zong, and he was going to be the $1 billion player for the Seahawks. And he wore jeans and he smoked cigarettes. You look it up. Look up Kim Il-zong. Hopefully you don't get your computer to shut down after you do that. But
well, at least you listen. We can put you on StreamYard, and you can talk to the people, and that can be your megaphone.
Absolutely,
if you need to now. Yeah,
but I'm sorry. Going back, it really is interesting how many. It's almost like a family tree, and a lot of it does start in Green Bay. You look at assistant coaches; they become head coaches, quarterbacks who go to different places. Like it's all sort of incestuous, but in a good way.
Yeah. But a lot of that starts with because of Holmgren. Mm-hmm. When he went there, and then he took Hasselbeck that he had drafted. He took Hasselbeck with him and stuff. By the way, Trev, so Max literally was he worked in audio.
Mm-hmm. Still does.
Yeah, and he's just a normal guy. You see him now all the time. The woman who cuts my hair is still trying to get Max a wife. So that's on their thing. What number did he wear again? He was like
number 129.
I was gonna say, I thought he was a triple digit number guy.
It's worth their time. The best thing about it, Seahawks were so good at welcoming. You know, I knew them all. I mean, Holmgren liked me. That helps when the head coach likes you, because then the PR guy's not going to get weird about my insane pitch. Hey, this week we want to, burn the building down, but it'll be really funny later. Very subtle. Because sometimes we had to sell teams on stuff that, they're used to. Joe Blow reporter wants to come in and talk about their prevent defense, and he's doing a feature on cornerbacks or whatever, right? Like the normal conventional stuff. And we were coming in with a little more unconventional absurdism. But once we did it for a couple of years, most teams got, the guys that does the jokes, they're coming, they want a couple players. And a lot of teams were pretty good with it. Some teams were really bad with it. We just didn't even bother calling those teams because we knew the answer would be no. But my go-to teams were Seattle, Green Bay, Minnesota, and New England, strangely enough, with Coach Belichick. Somehow it always worked out to go there once or twice a year. Plus, it was a home game for us. We could, drive there and back in one day from Hartford. So those were the four teams I did the most with by far. But Green Bay was great to me. I mean, we had 1 week, I can't remember what the situation was, but something completely crashed. And I'm literally calling up the Green Bay PR staff at like 10 o'clock at night on a Wednesday. Can we come tomorrow? What do you want to shoot? We don't know. Can we just come? Sure. So we flew to Green Bay and we made up one on the plane and went to the Oneida Casino.
Yes. By the way, did you find that Holmgren was funny and got the joke, or was he just tolerant, or like how? Because you'd make these things. I used to think they were fall down funny, and you'd come out and there were Boomer and Bill Parcells giving this unappreciated, this look of like, what does the NFL come to these days? We can no longer hit the quarterback, and we have this. Yeah,
Parcells definitely thought that I had sinned. And Boomer is a funny guy. Boomer has a great sense of humor. And he usually would try to set it up well, but he's sitting there with this cast of, like you said, ex-coaches and players. And then people don't, we should admit, we don't always pay attention to every story. We've either seen it or we know what it's about, or we're getting instructions about the next segment, right? So like you're on TV, you do this big lead into the 3-minute piece, whatever it is. You're not, sometimes you are. Sometimes it's a very heavy thing. Tom Rinaldi's going to make somebody cry or whatever's going to happen. And you're really into it. Other times you don't have time to be in it. So I don't really blame them for not always reacting as I hope they would after a piece that was supposed to be funny. Yeah, to go to a wide shot of guys, what just happened? Yeah. Or Parcells just like, damn, Yeah. So, well.
But Holmgren was generally, he was funny. He got it.
No, I think Holmgren has a good sense of humor, but he didn't necessarily improv into any. What am I trying to say? He did a great job.
Yeah,
he did his job. I heard.
And he was on the right side of Mandela.
Yes, he's on the right. Exactly.
Well, we'll catch you in the next segment a little more about your time here in Green Bay and maybe a few things about Aaron and Brett Favre.
What about Hayward, Wisconsin? Let's talk Hayward, Wisconsin.
Ooh, yeah. I know where that's going. We'll maybe cover that. We'll see. Back in a bit, Kenny Mayne, Inside Wisconsin.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Prevea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us. John, I'm so grateful. I got the call. I have complained about it for some time.
The call?
You called me and said, would you like to use my tickets for this weekend's Packer game? Thank you.
I thought you had like the call, like you were going to the show. Like finally you're going to the major leagues. God bless you. And I'm like, wow, that's all. I figured, why are you waiting to tell me this? Why didn't you text me sooner instead of having to do it, on the old web here?
Balding 40-year-old heading to the bigs. No, I'm going to the game. Thank you, my friend. This is not a normal game. And that's cool.
Seems to be more to play for than we might have thought, perhaps, if I had called you on, I don't know, the day after Thanksgiving.
Fair. Do you want to go? I might be good. End of January. Yeah.
Our
So,
team
okay.
is like that one. I don't know.
It's winter time. The weather doesn't look too bad, but winter and friends need Miller Lite to just make it better. So I promise not to be irresponsible and have you lose your season tickets. I promise. However, I need some advice. I'm going to a tailgate party, and I was told that there are 100 people that come through this tailgate party, and I would like to give the gift of Miller Lite to this tailgate party. I've done some math. I know that you often say I was told there would be no math. I did the math for us. There are 1,980 ounces of Miller Lite in a half barrel. Okay. That's 7 cases of beer. If 100 people come, it's about 1.65 beers per person. Do I get 1 half barrel or 2?
Just get a barrel. Yeah, get the whole thing.
Just 1 barrel. Okay, get the whole thing.
Get a keg, whatever.
Buy 7 cases of Miller Lite and walk up to the tailgate that way.
You can't do a keg stand on 7 cases. You need the barrel.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, let's think. Right. Well, that's still we got to think about outside the case, as it were, outside the carton, outside the packaging.
Yes.
That's great. Like if you want to build a wall of something, but if you're trying to want to do some sort of parking lot, some sort of tailgating, gymnastics, then you'll need the something a bit more sturdy.
Tailgating gymnastics. Nothing says a perfect tailgate like holding the legs of a 6'8", 290-pound fella into the air.
Well, that could
go wrong. Yeah, a little bit tough. All right, that's all about Miller Lite and good times with your friends. Can't wait for the Packer game this weekend.
Yep.
Now let's cover our bases. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Inside Wisconsin to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time.
Yes.
Celebrate responsibly. We will. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. You can find Miller Lite, John, if you were to happen to be here for the game at the tailgate party, but because you're not, I will be. Thank you, my friend.
So here's what I just wanted real quick while I was looking away while you're reading. That wasn't because I wasn't concerned. I was trying to find this text I got from a friend of mine who was at the Viking game.
Oh.
Would come up, and he sent a picture of sort of his supplies there. And I won't name the beer that was on top, but I'll just put that beer seems to me trendy and overrated. Just drink a Miller Lite.
Yes.
Just so you know. He's got fruit in there and juices, and just get a Miller Lite.
Yeah, be done with it.
Okay, let's the straightest line between, or what is it? The shortest line between 2 points is a straight line. Miller Lite is your straight line.
Yeah,
go to the tailgate party and drink a Miller Lite. Done. Enjoy. When's kickoff?
In between segments with Kenny Mayne, just to frickin' catch our breath. I'm laughing too hard. Take a break.
Okay.
We'll come back to him in a minute. Another top 5 list. We're going to kick it off here in 2023, just like we ended it. A top 5 list here on Inside Wisconsin, presented by Wisconsin's best engineering school at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. UW-Platteville offers an affordable engineering program, and its graduates stay in Wisconsin, driving innovation at top companies right here at home. Find out more at uwplatt.edu/engineering. These are fun when I don't know what's going on. So I'm not privy to today's top 5 whatsoever. Here we go.
So it is sports related. It is Wisconsin related. That narrowed it down, didn't it?
Sweet. Great.
So
I'm going to do great.
2023. And so I go back and I think, that means this is my 6th decade of hitting the 3. 23, 13, 03, 93, 83, 73.
Whoa.
Right? I was born in 1965. So for 73, 83, 93, 03, 13, I'm going to give you what I think was the top Wisconsin sports story for that decade.
73, 83, 93, 2003, and 2013.
These, I think, are as long as a new decade, a new year, and we're just going to go off the theme of here's the 3. We're going off the 3s. All right.
So 73.
Top. That was the Wisconsin Badgers' first ever hockey title. Badger Bob Johnson. I continue to get you. I'm not trying to quote. It was their first title. They took care of Denver 4-2 and won the championship. Dean Talafus was your mop, most outstanding player, and they're on their way. And Badger Bob, it's a great day for hockey.
I love it.
Okay.
Number 4.
83 may not have been the biggest sports story, but I find it to be huge. because in 1983, the Green Bay Southwest High School high jump record was raised 3 inches from 6'5" to 6'8" and change.
Congratulations
By
on
yours truly.
Yeah. Did it ever get beaten?
Yeah, oddly enough. So I had it for a little. I mean, the one that was there had been there a while, 4 or 5 years, by a guy named Corey Hershka. I only know that he went to school with my sister. So then I pulverized it by like 3 inches. I thought, okay, this thing's going to stay a while. And it got beat like 2 years later.
No kidding.
Yeah. Fellow that lived up the street from me. He had moved into town, fellow named George Common. God rest his soul. George passed away very young in life. Like he didn't, I don't know that he made it to 50. But he did it. And I think that's the one that still stands 40 some odd years later. You don't see a lot of dudes jump 6'8" in high school.
So just to recap.
Yeah.
Did this happen in 73 or the decade, or is it in 73?
Year of 73, 1973, 1983.
Good thing I didn't guess the Brewers.
1993, I'm going to have you. That's why, like 82, the Brewers, but not 83.
Yeah.
So 93, I'm gonna let you choose. I have two.
Okay.
Barry Alvarez, Badgers, 9-1-1, win the Big Ten championship, go to the Rose Bowl, beat UCLA on January 1st, 94.
Yeah.
93, Alvarez's first Rose Bowl team. Also 93, the Packers signed Reggie White.
That's a Rose Bowl thing. With all due respect to Reggie.
I think I go to Rose Bowl.
Yeah. First time since when?
Both those lasting things, both change the cultures that are felt today. Both of those are seismic things, right?
Yeah, I feel like though that
one, but we can settle on a tie, but those are both seismic things that are now felt 30 years later.
That's true.
What
was the year that they won the Rose Bowl prior to 94? We're talking like 30, 40, 50 years, wasn't it?
I don't know that they had won one. Right? Didn't they go and they went and they had the great Rose Bowl where Ron Vanderkellen threw for 400 yards, but I don't know that they won one. So while you look at that, we go to 2003.
Okay.
And Marquette going to the Final Four. Dwayne Wade, Travis Diener. That's how long ago that was.
Jeez.
2003.
Dwayne Wade, Travis Diener. Where did Travis Diener end up?
He played in New York for a while, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah. But 2003. So here's the thing about these clowns is in the second round, they face dear old alma mater, Missouri. And they go to overtime. And Marquette does not miss a shot. Doesn't miss a three, doesn't miss a two, doesn't miss a free throw. They shoot 100% for the overtime. And in subsequent years, when I have worked with Dwayne Wade, whether it was we did a commercial together, whether it was on set of the NBA Finals, I always let him know he breaks my. And now, if we get him just even on the IFB, I'm like, hey, Dwayne, how are you? He goes, we're good. We still haven't missed. So he still does not let me forget.
Yeah.
So
you brought it up to him first, though, didn't you? You told me that
I
story
did.
before.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
All right. So that's and now 2013. This is for you. This is in your wheelhouse.
2013.
The UW Whitewater Warhawks, 15-0. Another perfect season. They had 5 under that land. I don't know. I don't even say his name.
Whatever.
What's
Lance
his name again?
Leipold. I'll say it. Lance Leipold.
That coach. I'm just going to call him the coach. Coach had his 4th of 5 15-0 seasons and won the 5th of his 6 titles. We're going to get that out there. Like what an unbelievable stretch of dominance. Like the guy lost 6 games in 7 years or something.
It was
right.
Nuts.
And 3 of them in that 1 year. 3 of them the year before this. In 02 he lost, or in 12 he lost 3 games. And then he won perfect, and went to Buffalo. And I don't even know what happened to him after he got out of Buffalo. But 2013, I think we give some love to the dynasty that is the Warhawks.
That is. And the first one was in 07. That's when my brother Brady played on the team, Salem, Virginia. I'll never forget it. Finally beat those bastards from Mount Union.
Well, they crushed Mount Union in 13, like 52-14 or whatever. The Purple Raiders.
They deserved it. You were right, John. They did not win any Rose Bowls. The last time they were in the Rose Bowl was in 1963. 63.
Ron Vanderkellen threw for 400 yards. Yes, USC. It was a record that stood for many, 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 many years.
Jeez, you're so right. That's ridiculous. Well, you know what? I really thought
that happened before I was born. I have no idea how I figured that out.
Shut it. Look at you extending the olive branch to Lance Leipold. That was a very nice way to start the year.
I didn't extend anything to him. I
credited
Whitewater.
Oh. Hey, good start. Good start.
So, okay, maybe this year we get Lance Leopold on the show, and by we I mean you and him.
I know.
We need to go into more in depth with that for people so they know more later as to why.
We will. All right.
So that people go like, why is he hating on that guy?
He's a good dude too. We'll explain it later.
Runs deep.
Let's go back to Kenny Mayne. Yeah.
We are back with Kenny Mayne, who we all know, who we all love, and in my case, we miss dearly because now I work with people that I don't really always know who they are, haven't always seen them. I try to be tolerant because the first time Kenny and I did a show, when we used to have the big meeting, he comes in a little late. But again, the Carousel Museum, probably that traffic.
Clock
Museum traffic had backed up, so sometimes you can't get there on time. And I'm sitting there. I've been there in the company for 8 minutes, and he just comes in and goes, "So who am I doing the show with?" And I'm sitting right there, and that's when we met. Because that's how it works sometimes, right? Like everybody's like, there's this grand plan. Oh, they think really hard about it. No, you walk in and you're like, I'm working with that guy. All right, well, he's new. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it worked out.
And now I'm experiencing that with some other people. They're like, here, you're working with that person. I'm like, I didn't even know that person was in the company. Good for them. I thought maybe they were catering, but I've been on both sides of that. So you have got a great relationship with Wisconsin quarterbacks in terms of one, Dave Craig, we love, but some of your stories that are memorable are with Favre and are with Aaron, who are right. They are 1 and 1A over the last 25, almost 30 years in this town. How do you kind of work your way in with this, guys, and decide that either hey, Aaron, I need you to throw a head of lettuce at somebody, or hey, Brett, I need to talk about the person who handles your balls, and now you come up with these stories, and we are all entertained, and yet somehow these guys benefit from it, and they do not look silly.
Yeah, I mean, I think early on, those who saw the very first ones, and we would, hey, here's a clip so you can kind of get what we do if we needed to sell ourselves. I think with the Packers, though, they were just very open from the beginning. I had done a thing with Brett before the so-called main event. It was just just a regular story, but I made it kind of funny. And coming back then a year later or so, when we started doing these with regularity for football on the Countdown show, there was just this level of trust. They knew I wasn't out to get anybody. It's all just silly. I'm usually the butt of the joke. If anybody, we weren't there to make fun of anything. It was more like we would take a real thing and go off the deep end with it, or we'd just make up a story entirely. One of my favorites, you sort of mentioned it, was Brett. They kept mentioning on every show, every time he played a game, from December on, he has this unbelievable record of 33-1 in cold weather games when it's 32 below, or whatever the stat was, right? It was this remarkable figure. So what I came up with was, well, that's because he's naked the rest of the time to acclimate himself to the weather. So no problem when he throws on a football uniform. He's relatively warm, right? So we couldn't get Brett to walk around naked. We asked. We said, underwear, we're not naked. We'll pretend you're naked. He didn't want to do that. But I said, well, can we get his blessing that somebody else would play the role of him, still do the same joke? He doesn't have to be that person, but he just plays himself.
Body double.
Yeah. So we called up. I looked it up. It was like the Green Bay Theater Institute. I don't know what it was. It was the closest thing you guys have to Broadway, right? Yeah. And I sold these people meet me at the Oneida Casino, of course, at noon or 2 o'clock or whatever the time was the day before the shoot, and we were going to do like a legit casting call. We wanted people to come who look a little bit like Brett Favre. There was an Asian woman. There was a young guy who weighed 130 pounds. People look nothing like Brett Favre, and I'm like, what happened here? Like, we have no Brett Favre. We're bummed out. We don't have a naked Brett Favre. We're going to have to reinvent how we're shooting this. Do we shoot it from really far away? It won't be as funny. Has to look a little bit like Brett Favre. It's not funny because you got to kind of see the guy, right? I turn around and this guy walks in, looks exactly like Brett Favre from 50 feet. I was like, oh my God, is it Brett Favre? I said, are you here for the tryout? And he says, tryout for what? He didn't know what I was talking about. He just happened to be walking down the hall. I said, dude, would you walk around Green Bay in your underwear for $500 tomorrow? It'll take 2 or 3 hours. It's minus 17. It's one of those, I think it's December, January, whatever it is. He agrees to it. We get our Brett Favre look-alike. We get Brett Favre. We get the whole Brett Favre naked, and history was made.
How did you ever do a show with him, John? Because I'm back here on mute, coughing and laughing my face off. Like, this is impossible. How do you record?
I'm like my mom with me. I don't think he's funny at all.
Yeah, you're wrong.
I just turn it off and I just go, yeah. There. I just adopt my inner Bill Parcells and I just pretend he's not funny. I don't.
You know what's funny about that? He's saying it without saying it. John's very funny as well. There were times where we probably didn't give the other person whatever reaction was appropriate for the level of the piece of comedy. Because, like I said, you've got somebody in your ear. Or you're looking at notes. I'm not even listening to him. I'm getting ready for the next thing because it's a murder story or something. Like, I don't have time to laugh at his jokes, right? Because that was always the thing. If you got stuck with every SportsCenter has one, sometimes there were shows that were really dark. You had 3 or 4 downer stories. You're like, oh God, we can't just do highlights and yell booyah. Like, we just wanted to have fun out here.
Yes. My most recent incarnation of the program, I had the passing away of, I find him to be a Sonics legend, in Paul Silas, right? Like, he was really good on that championship team. He was there, and then obviously the grave condition of Mike Leach. So I got both those. So that always makes life fun. And then how do we get just a better day and a better time? How do we get Aaron to throw lettuce at TJ?
TJ Lang was a rookie. We wanted to do something funny about how rookie shows can go bad, right? When the old thing in the NFL used to be they had to go up and sing their school fight song. And then it changed through the years and it became a talent show, a gong show, if you will, right? So we were making fun of, if I'm not mistaken, it was part of a more elaborate, bigger story that included UNLV players, USC players, Justin Timberlake. Is it the same story? I'm confused through the years, but I thought it began with the Packers had their talent night and TJ Lang, the rookies, up there doing a really bad magic show. And like the old vaudevillian thing where people throw fruit or lettuce or whatever on the stage, we thought it'd be funny if Aaron Rodgers, with the best arm in the room, hits TJ Lang with a head. Well, first it was going to be a head of cabbage. Had we bought cabbage and we bought lettuce, and then I held them in, we were about to shoot, like the guys are coming in 5 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, he might kill someone if we can't do this. This thing weighs like 9 pounds. It'll either ruin his arm or kill someone. We can't have either thing happen here. We'll never be invited back. There'd be so much paperwork to fill out. So we opt for the lettuce, and Aaron has made many big throws in his career. This right up there with the best throws he's ever made. He absolutely murdered poor TJ Lang right between the jawbone and the side of the neck. Probably still has markings from it, you know. But to TJ Lang's credit, and he's a rookie, mind you. He looks like a little baby. He has baby fat. He's just a little rookie blocker guy. And he hung in there like a veteran act. He didn't laugh. He winced, and then he just stayed with it. Like he could have broken, right? We would have had to throw the damn thing at him again. But he kept the tape rolling by not reacting in a way that killed the scene, and was amazing. It's one of my favorite things that's ever happened.
And was Aaron more than happy to throw at him at that point? Like, he's like, yeah, what else you got? Like, you know,
he didn't seem to care about TJ's welfare. Later, they would become dear friends. TJ had, a great career. Went on to Detroit after that, right, where he's from, and he had a really solid NFL career and was a key player and someone who protected the quarterback at all costs.
We actually had TJ on early on in the beginnings of Inside Wisconsin. We talked to him about this, and I shot him a text and just said, hey, you want to come on and talk about beating the out of a car or taking a head of lettuce in the face? Funny, he didn't respond. I don't know why. It was a little weird. Yeah. So
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, Jay, I was wondering if I can tell the story of your last show on SportsCenter with Kenny when you gave me a little inside scoop to something happening. I can cut this if you don't want me to tell it.
I don't even remember what it was, honestly. It's been so long ago. Until you said, can we get Kenny Mayne? The man had been dead to me. So, because I feel like he walked out on us, and it took me a long time to get over it with him not there. So, and then you got to understand, we had this great core group with at least I thought so, with Kenny and I and Levy and Bucci, and we did most of the 11s. And then the NHL came and took 2 of my guys, and then Kenny finally got smart and said, I don't need this place. And now I feel like I'm alone. I like Zubin and I like Max McGee and all of Mike Eves, but I feel like I'm alone, basically. I just wander around an empty building.
Abandoned.
Oh, good. There aren't that many people. I just want I lead a very sad existence.
You know what I don't miss? I miss the hour. I miss the people, like I said I would. I said in my goodbye remarks, I'll miss the people. I'll miss the snack machine over by the Van Pelt joint.
Sure.
And you know the one, if people could only see, it's one of the greatest snack machine ensembles ever, right? Yeah. It has like 9 machines. I think it has a milkshake machine. There's fresh fruit. And you have to have a key to get in. You can't just,
right.
It's not like sitting in the hallway. There was a famous story where there was a coach, like a college coach who was coming in to do analysis work like they do. And he thought it was all free, like it was part of the deal. So he just grabbed everything he could get his hands on. And the coach, I think somebody just paid for it. They didn't want to tell him. It was embarrassing. But what I miss the people, I miss the snack machine, I miss the hour of doing the show, or sometimes 2. But I don't miss like the bad carpet and deciding what am I doing for dinner, and oh shoot, I got to put a tie on, and oh god, I got to take the makeup off. Yeah, the rudimentary stuff, the annoying stuff, I don't miss, but I definitely miss the fun we had. Like I love the crazy nights. We'd complain, but we know we loved it. When things are changing and they're in your ear, don't do that, go to this, and the no-hitter just happened, interview so-and-so, like the hecticness, the controlled chaos of it all, like that definitely is something to be missed. And it's kind of hard to replace, because doing these little bits I do now, or doing a podcast that I have called Hey Mayne, if you want to look it up, it doesn't replace it. It's a thing to do, and I enjoy doing the things I'm doing, but it's not the same adrenaline rush, right? It's not, because it's not live. The danger's less. Yeah. So I'd say I miss the danger more.
So what's the last thing to get back to this, Trev? What was it I sent you? I have no idea.
Yeah,
I hope I didn't violate any company policies.
Well, if it does, we'll cut it. This is all post-prod anyway. All right, so I'm sitting here in my studio knowing that you're on Kenny Mayne's last SportsCenter with him, and that Aaron Rodgers is coming on, going to get interviewed by Kenny, and he's in the thick of it. We don't know if he's coming back. What's he doing? Where's he living? Who's he dating? We have no idea. All of a sudden, my FaceTime comes, and it's John. I answer, and it's him showing me the recording of Aaron Rodgers, because you did this in advance.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this as it's happening live, knowing it's going to be on SportsCenter, wondering if there's any scoop. Okay. John is showing me the monitor, and it ends with, "F you, Aaron Rodgers." And I about pissed myself in my own home. That was the funniest moment I've ever seen, ever. That was.
By the way, crypto has not come back. He's still into you.
I don't even know my crypto password. Whatever's left, they can have it. It's I'm very proud of that moment. And he was great to go along with it, right? Like it wasn't really saying that to him. It wasn't making him it was just a punchline. And it was born from the fact that he had done Jeopardy, a couple months before, I think. And we had done some kind of talkback interview with him. And at the very end, I think it made part of the air, or it was right after, somehow crypto came up. And I was like, so that's the thing where you take real money and then you buy pretend money, but you hope other people with real money buy more pretend money, than your pretend money is worth more real money. Is that? He's like, yeah, essentially. Okay, you should buy. Definitely, it's hot. So I did. I didn't buy a ton. I bought more than I wish I had, but not so much that we, didn't meet our obligations that month. And so a few months later, now this is all happening where I'm leaving the company. He's going to be one of the final guests. And I was just driving. I think I was getting coffee, and I just thought of the joke that it will be funny if I give him a hard time about telling me to buy this damn crypto when it's both gone down, and in the intervening time I got fired. So you, Aaron Rodgers, like Gretchen just wants a new blank. The funny thing is, so I kind of wrote the joke in my head, like, you need to set it up this way. Here's your punchline. Don't forget to do it. When I did those interviews, I did Marshawn, I did Jamal Crawford, Sue Bird, Fred McGriff, and Aaron. I didn't have any notes. Like there was no prompter. It was I just kind of had stuff I knew I would go to. Plus it was very hectic. Like we were taping this from 8:30 to 9:45, and we were on at 11. There was a game. I think it pushed us late. But, there was a lot of pressure. And I'm kind of controlling it. I'm texting, hey, Jamal, hang on. He's like, I'm fine, man. Put me last. I'm good. Oh, good. Thanks. Sue Bird, hang on. Marshawn's Wi-Fi doesn't work. All this stuff's going on. We get Aaron. and we do whatever interview we did. And then at the very end, I was almost ready to thank him and finish somehow. And I was like, oh, don't forget the joke. So then, hey, one more thing before we leave. And I remembered to do it. Thank goodness.
It was beautiful.
I can't believe how few people remember that I was on that show. I don't know why. It seemed, I guess it was more Kenny centric than I remember. Because nobody ever says, John, about the time you were there for Kenny's last show.
And Bucci came out.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
For the grand finale.
He did.
Who was with Bucci?
I don't know. He was later that night. I don't know. It wasn't Levy because Levy was like
it was
or somebody.
Gosh darn it.
Might have been Eves.
I don't think it was.
I don't know. I just know that Noah Key. Kenny had left the building. He was no longer there. And that's the same now.
Walks off.
These are the things.
And you're still
I can't remember what I did with my pass. You have like you have this special pass that gets you into any door, and you have to give it to the security guard as you come in the front entrance, one of the entrances. Did I hand it to the security guard on the way out ceremonially, or did I give it to Jack Obringer? Did I keep it? I don't remember.
So I'll ask you this because I didn't get a chance because it's been passed, and then we'll get back to other silly things.
I want to tell you about my Hayward, Wisconsin experience and my podcast before we're done.
Excellent.
And the show's running long. It's on YouTube. We can go as long as we want.
Yes, we can. This is a bottomless cup of coffee right
now. YouTube. We're going on for hours. Let's go.
But when you finally do this, because it had taken so long for you to get there, right? And your story is pretty well chronicled about trying to work at ESPN and how you did stuff on the Fringe and Al Jaffe and John Walsh, and you finally get in the building. So now when it's finally gone and you're turning that stuff in, like, did you have this moment of like, I can't believe that, forget the unknown, but like I busted my hump just to get in the door the first time, and now I'm walking out the door.
Yeah. No, I didn't like cry, but there was, I think the only time that night when Marshawn said something that kind of choked me up, but it didn't really have to do with ESPN. It was more just how we had treated each other. How he said the way I treated him was beneficial to him because then other people looked at him in a better way than they might have, right? Remember that whole stupid thing about Marshawn's, some bad guy because he doesn't do interviews, like that whole scene. Anyway, there was definitely some, probably still is, like a little melancholy of, I really did work hard to get there, and I would freelance forever, it seemed like. Finally got a job at ESPN2, and they were like, don't even have aspirations about SportsCenter. Like, literally said that. And then you keep moving up and up and, get whatever little station I had there. And then it's just, in one day, it's gone. That is weird. Like, and that's our show. And
that's our show.
Yeah, that was also, actually, I said that by accident. You were with me that night too, right?
Well, that gets replayed all the time now. We all sign that. That's
one of my favorite moments.
I said that last night.
Derek Camogan, one of our favorite people, was one of our producers. And you guys know Joe Linardi. He does the college predictions about what team will make the tournament and what seed they'll be and all this kind of stuff, right? So there's like this 2-week period during conference tournaments and whatnot where we mentioned Joe Linardi's name like 7,000 times this show. Joe Linardi has Villanova a 4, or Joe Linardi has St. Joe's first out, all these little inside terms about who's going to make the tournament, right? And whoever the hell was playing, I did a highlight, somebody's playing, and the game's over. We go to the Joe Linardi panel, predictive of what these teams will be or not be for the tournament. But because one team had beaten the other that wasn't expected, Joe Linardi's new little prediction had to be flipped, right? Like we had to say it the opposite way because whatever the hell just happened was the opposite of what Joe would have thought, right? I don't know this to be true. I just know what's in front of me that so-and-so won, and here's what Joe Linardi said. And Derek's in my ear telling me to say it the right way, like say they're a 3 seed or whatever the hell he wanted me to say. And I say what I think I'm supposed to say, and I'm done talking. I'm just kind of like waiting for John to take off with, MLS game or something. and
they're in the control room. They're in the control room, and the guy says, don't get off this graphic until he says it. Leave it there. Make him say it. And he's in the going, make him say it.
And this is like a minute and a half into the show. This is like story number 3 or whatever. And finally, we're just like the most dead air that I've ever experienced. And I don't understand why I want to go, John, that old anchor thing where you say the guy's name like John, and he's supposed to go now. But I don't even do that. I just said, and that's our show. as though the show had ended on this full screen a minute 40 into the show. And yeah. So now we can use that for anything. If you hit a bad golf shot, that's something people, and that's our show.
And that's our show.
All right, so I wrote down the wide world of Wisconsin sports, and then you said the word Hayward, Wisconsin, which I think one of these is going to qualify. So what's the story in Hayward?
Well, we did, I was doing a show called Main Street, and the different, they always named it after my name. People get them confused. There was the main event, which was the football pretend stories. Main Street was a fictional account of my life, mostly at ESPN, my work experience, little outside stuff. We had amazing people. Aubrey Plaza, who was just in the finale of White Lotus last night. Allison Becker and John Glazer and Ben Schwartz, Chris Smith, all these people, right? We had this fun little fictional thing we did for a couple of years. And I just kind of heard from certain people that seemed to know that it was going to go away. There was no real explanation. It was just, it's going really well. Everybody likes it, but they're going to kill it. That's pretty much the story I was hearing. So I knew my contract said I had to do X amount of days doing magazine, X amount of sports centers, X amount of football, right? Like it was all parceled out. So I wanted to figure out, I'm sad they're going to kill that show. I think it's a mistake, but I might as well go pitch and shoot my shot about what I want to do next, right? For that portion of my contract. And I threw out to John Skipper this idea that we do something called Wider World of Sports. Remember the old show, Wide World of Sports? So we were adding an R, which would differentiate us, we tried to claim. And they let us do it. Somehow they said yes. And the next thing you know, we were flying around the world, going to Switzerland for Hornussen and Muay Thai boxing and sledding down a volcano in Nicaragua, the Palio in Italy, Irish road bowling. We were all over hell and gone, right? Just recklessly spending money too. You know what first class travel costs to Switzerland? It's a lot. So Norby, finally, like, this is stupid. We're letting this idiot run around in the world in flip-flops. These costs are insane. And we did have sponsors. Like, I think it was a break even. It didn't make money, but it didn't, kill the company. And we knew that was going to go away at some point too. But they let us do it one more time. But they said you have to stay in the United States. No more flying to Germany for the grade 3, harness race or whatever we want to do. So we end up picking Hayward, Wisconsin, because they have some amazing lumberjack festival. I think they have it there every year, right? I think it's an annual thing. And we had, oh my God, we had a great time. Beautiful country. I did the log rolling competition against the girl that was like the champ who toyed with me before just dumping me into the lake and like just with a little flick of her left knee. The guy that climbs the pole, which I did not try to do. I love the axe throwing. The axe throwing was pretty fun. But there was also a moment on day 2, I think it was, we rented a house on this beautiful lake, and we were about 15, 20 minutes from the site. We had to get there. We had a certain time. We were supposed to be there for an interview or something. I went to start the car and somehow left the keys in the car, and the car locked. And now we had to break into our rental car in order to go to the last day of shooting. So I wish we had film of that, because that was an episode unto itself. Because most cars don't do that, right? Like if they won't lock them, but this one,
true.
I don't know, we had something to complain about there. But the real point of that was just how lovely Hayward was. The festival was really fun. We had done a similar thing in Scotland at a whatever they call theirs, similar to our lumberjacks. They have a better name for it, probably. Very similar though, except they throw bigger things. Yeah, they throw a rock. They throw a rock like this. I can't show you on my screen.
Yeah, here.
It's like that big. It weighs God knows how much, and then they throw it, and the winner threw it like 7 feet, and that he threw it 7 feet. Like it's pretty funny to watch. Highland games. Those are the Highland games. Yes.
Yeah, the Highland games. They caber toss, and they're much more expensive to cover than getting to Hayward. That's for sure.
For sure. Well, and I do remember. I wasn't much of a drinker at the time. I mean, not that I'm a flat out drunk now. I don't mean it that way. Just almost never did at all. And I was out with the guys at this bar, just, having water, Coke, whatever. And it was getting late. We needed to get up because we had to shoot pretty early the next morning. So we start to walk out of this bar, this Scottish bar, and we're going to walk back to our hotel. It's not very far. And we're literally opening the door to walk out. And in come these 3 guys that we had interviewed earlier in the day, who knew our faces now, and they shoved us back into the bar, pretty much held us down at the throat and just poured alcohol down our, I mean, no, I'm not really exaggerating. So those three guys ended up in the bottom tier of the competition because they stayed out till 3 and 4 in the morning. We thought, oh, what a bunch of badasses. They go out and drink all night and they're going to throw that big pole tomorrow. Turned out they were just the idiots who stayed out too late. The guys who were, back home knitting or, reading Chaucer or something, those guys were the winners. Yeah.
So was Main Street or Wider World of Sports or Main Event, was that involved in Andy North's golf tournament with Tauscher, or was that just you being going to help Andy raise money for the Carbone Cancer Center?
That's a great question. And it was replete with details that actually supported the whole notion of it. I'd forgotten about that. So Tauscher, Mark Tauscher, another blocker person, right, for the Packers. And I'd gotten to know him through the years because he was a go-to guy on some of our dumb stories. We just need a guy that knows how to do funny lines. He was one of those guys. TJ was another one. And so Andy invited me to this event a couple summers ago, north of Madison. It's up there where they have a bunch of water slides.
Yeah, the
Dells.
Yeah. And he's built himself a 12-hole par 3 joint, sort of like they have at the Masters. And I told Tauscher going in, I'm very average golfer. You've seen me. I mean, my range is between 88 and 108. Anything can happen with me, right? You don't know what's going to happen. But the only thing I can still do athletically is throw. Pretty much all objects. Arm's getting a little older as day by day it sadly is. But at the time I felt pretty confident when I saw this course. I told Tauscher, I think I could get even par if I don't use a club. I just bring a putter. I'm going to throw. Once I'm on the green, I have to putt. Those are the rules. I said, I think I can get even par. And we made it. I think it was a $20 bet or so. I lost. I was +2, but I was proud of my effort. I just putted poorly. Like, I think his longest, he has a 130 or 140, but it's downhill. So if you throw it 80 yards or whatever, it's going to bounce either close or on. The rest of them are short. They're 85 yards. They're nothing. So I'd love to go back and challenge myself again if Andy will have me.
That'd be fun. All right, we're somehow going to wrap it up with Kenny Mayne here at Inside Wisconsin. One more segment, a couple questions from me, and then a new segment's going to debut here at Inside Wisconsin. Back in a second.
We're just going to ask him questions.
Oh, it's not the lightning round, typically. Back in a bit. Inside Wisconsin.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Prevea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review. Smash the like button. Just get with us.
Pump up the savings with Festival Foods Gas Rewards. How does it work? Simple. Grab your card in store. Register online. Get points for every grocery run. Then roll up to Quick Trip and watch the prices roll back. Festival Foods Gas Rewards.
Back inside Wisconsin, Trevor John and Kenny Mayne. All right, Kenny, a couple for me. You have had nothing but love for the state of Wisconsin and all the conversations. We appreciate that. However, I think there's one subject where you're not so hot on Wisconsin, and it's when the Brewers became the Brewers. True?
Oh, great point. I don't know how the fact that we're bringing this up this late in the show.
Yeah,
I should have. You know what? I apologize to all Seattle Pilot baseball fans. So, as a child, there's a lot of things we didn't have in Seattle. We're just like Mayberry with skyscrapers, as Rod Long, the old comic, used to describe it. So when I was a little kid, we had no major league team. Then they bring in this expansion team in 1969. The Seattle Pilots lasted for 1 year. They went down to spring training in 70, and the equipment guys were told, take this stuff to northern Arizona, and you'll get a phone call. You'll either go, northeast or northwest. And they went northeast. Bud Selig bottom, and we lost the Seattle Pilots. It was tough. We were sad. When you're a little kid,
yeah.
Like, what do you mean our team's not? What do you mean? But then Slade Gordon, who was our attorney general, who would later become a U.S. senator, sued Major League Baseball, and somehow we got a victory there where they kind of had to give us a team that became the Mariners. We built the Kingdome, and there you go.
And there we are.
Yeah. I wonder how many people. I always wanted to do that story. Interview some current Brewers and just make some references to olden day Seattle Pilot guys and just find out who knows that story. Because it is interesting. Now it's been a lot of years, that's a long time ago.
But you can still name 20 guys off that roster probably?
Oh, I think I can I'm catching up with the Mariners because they had a fun year. Man, they were fun. That was the Mariners lost to the Astros 0-3, but could have beat them 3-0. Like it was that good a series, I thought.
All right, Kenny, we're grateful that you came on our podcast, but of course you're rocking a new podcast too. It's called Hey Mayne. It's the Kenny Mayne Talks to Popular People podcast or famous people podcast.
Tell us about Kenny Mayne Talks to Famous People podcast. That was going to be the title. Gretchen and others thought that was really stupid, so we had to come up with one of those. Hey Mayne, like using my name, but it's a good enough. We're very happy with the people who have agreed to be on, and we hope other people think those people substantiate the fact that I'm a good talker to be on my podcast. Yay me. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. I mean, it's tough because there are so many. The competition is thick. And just because you say, look who we have this week, so-and-so, in my dumb little head, I'm like, we had Aubrey Plaza. I mentioned her before.
Right.
I was like, oh, we'll probably get 2 million people this time, won't we? And it just doesn't work that way. Like, you got to kind of grind and keep letting people know you have this thing. But we love the people we've had on. We've had some great guests. Christopher Guest did it. Chris Berman was the first one. We had Dan and Keith together. Jamal, Sue Bird, Jamel Hill, Josiah Johnson was one of my favorite ones. He has the very funny Twitter account, with all the memes and all. And we're going to do Super 70s Sports Guy.
That guy just slays me.
He's very funny.
God. He's just the best. Well, if nothing else, he just brings up stuff that you'd kind of let pass or forgotten about that comes through.
Oh, for sure. If you're of a certain age, he takes a lot of shots. He's a prolific shooter. He has no conscience. I meet out, like sometimes on Twitter day, I'm like, man, did I really do 9 tweets? That's a lot. I like, a couple good ones and like a couples and get out of the game,
Yeah.
Super 70 guy, just, nope, I can't stop it. I took
a screenshot of one of his recently where he said, if your mascot isn't a drunken German wearing lederhosen living in a chalet, you're not trying.
That was for the Milwaukee Brewers. I saw that. I love that one.
Yeah.
But it should be. No doubt.
He's on. We had Steve Kerr. Lenny Wilkins is coming up. And we're waiting on Joe Montana. Joe, if you're out hunting at Dave Craig's property, murdering deer, if you're just assaulting animals with rifles, Joe, you're open. You're open. We thought he said yes, but he got busy. And we only have a couple more and our season's over, but will we extend play like stoppage time in soccer? Yes.
Yeah, for Joe, you should be able to do that for sure. He's out drinking a Guinness right now, and you can't get him out of the bar. Probably with guys somewhere, big guys in Ireland who are.
That's an interesting commercial.
Yeah, it does. It seems, but apparently, it's not a heavy beer at all. Apparently, according to Joe, it's very light and tasty. It's velvety. Good for him. So we have that. By the way, speaking of Elena out in USC, Colin and his girlfriend recently broke up. So tell her if she doesn't have anybody in her life, she should rekindle, make a call back to Colin Anderson.
She'll be home tomorrow, Tuesday, the whatever date that is.
He's coming home next Friday. So tell her, if she's got some time in her schedule, well, we could reconnect those two.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
And see what happens.
Beautiful.
So, all right. Trevor, you done?
Wait a minute. I thought you were going to give me a Milwaukee quiz or something.
I have some things.
So,
I have some Wisconsin questions for our non.
Okay.
So everybody knows, right? The fight song's great non-Wisconsin, on Wisconsin, but we have some non-Wisconsin things for people that enjoy the state, have been good to the state, but might not necessarily have lived and come in the state. So I have some questions, but most of them are also designed to educate Trevor, which is a totally different segment.
Here we go.
If anything that happens before 1983, Trevor knows nothing about. So this is kind of a hybrid between helping you. So we don't feel bad if we don't know the answers, because hopefully this will just be embarrassing for Trevor. So we'll see what happens. What's the highest point in Wisconsin? Is it Grafton Point, Rib Mountain, or Timms Hill?
Grafton Point, obviously.
I'm going to go Timms Hill.
It's Timms Hill. Yeah. So I don't know how high Mount Rainier is, but Timms Hill is 1,961 feet above sea level. That's the highest point in Wisconsin.
That's like a road hill in Seattle, probably. Right. Mount Rainier is 14,000 and change.
Okay, so we're not quite there
blow
yet.
off at any minute.
All right. So Wisconsin, obviously, we're the nation's leading cheese producer.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are Washington is number one in apples. Is Wisconsin in the top 5 in apple production in the U.S.?
Yes.
It is
No.
not. It's not even in the top 10, even though Door County, great apple crop.
This is the dumb quiz. I was trying to give you guys love. I thought you had a lot of apples.
I thought we did too. I was stunned that we
You
were
have a
in the
place
top-
called Appleton. You have a place
crazy.
literally called Appleton.
Makes no sense. We also lead in cranberry. What percentage of cranberries do we produce in the entire U.S.? 40%, 50%, 60%, or 75%?
Of the U.S. cranberry production?
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm going to go all the way, 75%.
I think
Trev?
it's 75% as well.
60%.
Ah, damn.
But still, that's pretty good, right? You get
Where?
60%.
I've never seen a cranberry bog. I've driven all
Central
over
Wisconsin. Central Wisconsin.
I'm just saying at 60%, Kenny, we don't need a runoff election. We've
Okay.
got the majority, and we can just go.
I like cranberry old school in a can. I know
Yes.
it seems artificial.
Love it.
Yeah, you pull it out. It's like it looks like this is like a tube of cranberry. Gretchen, by the way, we went out to dinner for Thanksgiving this year, and it was the worst Thanksgiving dinner ever. Cost a lot of money as well. Our oven broke. So I was like, I'm going to save the day and get us a reservation at a fancy restaurant.
Where'd
And
you
it
go?
was terrible. They bought turkeys from like a factory, probably in Wisconsin, where they cooked the turkey and then shipped it on a truck, and then they just sliced it.
Oh.
I wanted a grandma in a smock and
Right.
I wanted people cooking real turkeys and pulling them out and slicing them, seeing skin, gravy, the whole. It was terrible.
Come
So
my
I went to
house.
Whole
I walk
Foods
through
the next day and
backyard all the time.
bought
I can
turkey.
tackle
I know.
about 6 of them.
We should just got Dave Craig to come over and murder some turkeys back here.
All right, here we go. Which of these is not a campus in the UW system? Everybody knows UW-Madison. Which of these is not a real place? Stout, Eau Claire, Platteville, or Racine?
Stout.
Stout is real. I hate to tell you. There is no UW Racine.
I'm 0 for 5.
We have silly names. We've got a Parkside and a Whitewater and a River Falls. Which of these is not a Wisconsin city? We know Green Bay. Which of these is not a Wisconsin city? Pound, King, Disco, Dairyland, Maine, Anderson.
Strange that I'm going to say there's no Dairyland.
There is no Maine, Wisconsin.
Oh,
I thought I had teed that. I was right there for you.
I know. I did poorly on this, but I was enthusiastic.
That's
I
his
got-
way of saying we're done.
I have one more.
Okay.
And that's our show.
One more. And then that's our show. I was going to ask you where you think Joe Thomas rates his all-time great batchers, but I don't want to do that. Amongst our fair cities and towns and villages and hamlets, true or false, there are 12 cities, towns, villages, or hamlets named Lincoln.
What if it's like, no, there are 11. I'll say, sure.
No, it's all or nothing. It's
I'll
all or
say,
nothing.
yeah, it's true.
There are 12 Lincoln, Wisconsin.
Nuts.
Are you shitting me? Who knew that? Okay, we told you we were going to take an hour. It took 69 minutes. You have to go. The people in Oneida are calling you.
If
New
sometimes
shooter.
the truth is, I have nothing going. I'm going to the store. This is delaying the store trip with Gretchen.
Nope, go. I
But
don't want her mad at me.
sometimes if people act like they're busier than they are, it seems more important than it is.
I love it. New shooter. Just make sure you work the hard ways coming out.
Same dice. All right. Thanks for having me.
See you, bud.
Thanks for coming.
See you guys.
See you, Ken.
Bye.
Doing the right thing.
So, Trev, you've just had what? A little more than an hour with him. I have hours upon hours with him at work, year after year after year. Like my sides sometimes still hurt, and I just blame Kenny Mayne.
I think I snorted no short of 7 times. Thank God my mic was on mute back here. I literally said to you, I don't know how you do that. How do you did that? There were moments during SportsCenter where you couldn't breathe, right? Like you're listening or just
Yeah, I think I've said before, like of all the people I've ever worked with, his is the only stuff, his writing, his things that I went and read ahead of time. Because you can do that in our computer system, so that I was at least somewhat prepared. And even then you couldn't be prepared because what was written isn't always what's said, or there are spaces where we're just on the fly. And I recall, if you'll humor me, because he's humorous. A time remember when Randall Simon clubbed one of the sausages during the sausage race?
Yes.
It was the Pittsburgh Pirate, and he was just kind of swinging the bat, and then I thought it was a love tap. The guy went down. It became this big, huge thing.
Yeah, for no reason.
The cops came, and it was this big whole thing that seemed to me was way overblown for a guy that was kind of, ha, ha, ha. So, but in the light of that, sort of the people at PETA went, wait, we have a sausage race? This is horrible. This is against the ethical treatment of animals. So they had suggested then, they put out the big press release and they see a moment that we should have a vegan sausage. We should have a plant-based sausage in the race. There should be something in there. I think they ended up adding the chorizo, which was decidedly not plant-based. But anyway, so now Kenny has to do this story because we're following up on Randall Simon and the assault charge. And Kenny talks about how PETA has asked that there should be a vegan sausage. And he said, and they have also requested that Gorman Thomas no longer be allowed to slaughter veal calves in the outfield.
What?
Right. It's just off the top of his head. Gorman doesn't play with the team. Gorman's gone for however long because Gorman was drafted by the Pilots, which is why he likes Gorman. Yeah. So please, and I don't know if you've noticed that, but they did. The Brewers stopped the practice of slaughtering veal calves in the outfield, if in fact that was ever a thing.
Gorman Thomas.
Yeah.
Wow, he looks like an unmade bed.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I miss him. I miss him every day. It's fun. For very different reasons. I miss Stuart Scott every day because I miss his soul and I miss that person and that guy. And I miss Kenny every day at work, just professionally that he's in there. So it's a shame when they're no longer in the building and you still are and you're wishing that they were there to help make your work day better.
Come back. Kenny, come back.
Yeah.
Good memories. All right. Hey, memories time. What's the first John Wisconsin in 2023? Now, you teased off a list here in our best of episode of just all sorts of John Wisconsins to come. I do not have the choice. You go.
Yeah. So I think this is not I don't know that this is a especially fascinating one, but I want to say 19 years old. I had come back as a freshman in college. It might have been my sophomore year. One of the two. And I go out to see my best buddy from Wisconsin, one of my best buddies from Wisconsin, a fellow named Rick Crossland, who was originally from New Jersey and moved to Green Bay for about 4 years. His dad had worked with Johnson & Johnson and came to work at Fort Howard. Remember when Fort Howard was a thing? That was a thing. It was a big thing, Fort Howard. So his dad works there for 4 years, and he's very successful, but he decides it's not what what he's promised. So he moves back to New Jersey because he's a native guy, and he takes Rick with him. And so I think it was my freshman year because Rick was a senior in high school at Homedale, New Jersey. And I go out there with Rick, and now we decide we're going to go into the city on New Year's Eve.
The city?
New York City. We're taking the train. We're taking the train to New York City. One guy's 18, one guy's 19. Here we go. Let's go take on the city.
What's go wrong?
Right. Even though this Mr. Crossland, his dad, was the one that told me later in life that the subway was not built for kids from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I could be a different John Wisconsin.
Accurate.
But we go. And I had brought Mr. Crossland as a housewarming gift into Christmas and the holiday New Year, a bottle of Chivas Regal. Great. He brings it. He's very appreciative. We used to call him the deacon. And the deacon's very appreciative, except the deacon had heart trouble, couldn't do hard liquor anymore. So Rick and I set off to New York City with the bottle of Chivas Regal.
Oh, good.
Did
you puke on the train?
Go and we do shopping. We look for skis that we're not ever going to be able to buy, and we do the whole thing. And now it's night, and we're like, should we go home or should we stay? Now, if it's my mother, we're going home. Mrs. Crossland, much nicer. So we stay. And it's New Year's Eve, and Dick Clark's up there. And now we've had some of the Chivas Regal, and Rick, who is think of Anthony Michael Hall in 16 Candles, is on my shoulders, and we are yelling at Dick Clark and screaming above the crowd because, of course, he can hear us 3 stories away.
Right.
And now we get through the night, and we have this grand time. We come back home. And so now my mom says, how was your time in New York City? It was great. It was unbelievable. She goes, my gosh, Dad and I watched the ball drop, and all we could think was, thank God Rick and John aren't there tonight.
Didn't make it on TV, but you were there.
Well, we were there, and unlike certain things that I have not confessed to my mother, that one she does know. She does know the outcome of that story. She does know now. She was not very happy with Mrs. Crossland at the time, thought she had shown poor judgment. But nonetheless, so I have been to New York City in Times Square. Oddly enough, not since I've been here, but I was
Really?
when I was 19.
Jeez.
Oh, my Lord.
I feel like John, Wisconsin's turning into a John's mom confessional booth. Like, all right, Mom, here's another one.
She knew. It's okay. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
there
know.
are times, you're right. At some point, this is cathartic. I can confess my sins and hope she'll think it's funny. Like I said, mostly it's because I know there's no way she can find this. You know, I've told you, she's got to go to the Packers ticket office just to download a mobile app. So there's no shot that she's finding out anything here.
How's your show going, Trevor? It's been so long. You don't watch, huh, Karen? No? Okay. That's fine. J.A., we're off to a good start, man. Kenny Mayne was great. That's a fun story. This is
and
a
we
blast.
can tease, right? Because we have Scott Van Pelt in the hopper.
In the hopper.
The Von Schnitz is coming. You can call him the Von Schnitz. You can call him Chauncey, the Lord of Cutlery, or the nation's leading Sun Belt Conference tout. He has all manner of names.
And neither of us are flocking the geese anymore.
You guys, you have let the geese go.
Yeah, come on. All right. It's going to be a good year, man. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being here, Wisconsin. As always, for Trevor, I'm John. Nope. There's the first blooper of the year. We're not going to cut that. We're going to go with it. See you next time, Wisconsin. Remember to subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review. Smash the like button. Just get with us.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Prevea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Shut up and sit down.